Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamer Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Erik, Nathaniel, and Dennis. Robert is working today, so and it's a Monday, which we're not usually here on a Monday, so this is kind of different. I don't know if we've ever done one on a Monday. I don't ever remember doing one on a Monday. So.
First time for everything.
It's possible at some point we've done one. It's possible, like in the early days.
Maybe. I don't know. You know, we usually work, so now that most everybody's working home, it's like, except for me, I'm not working from home, but here we are.
But you got the masks and everything, right?
Oh yeah, I got the masks and everything.
The masks,
like
the glove, the hazmat suits, all the.
No, I don't go that far.
That would be hilarious.
No.
I can't go that far. Mask is about as far as I can go. I can't go much more than that because it's just
no hazmat suits. No
mask. They're gloves because my hands just sweat in them. It's really gross. It's
right.
It's
no riot shields or
no riot shields. It's just that kind of simple stuff. So, but but just wear your mask when you do go out, people. I mean, we all like to take a vacation, but we don't. We don't get to now because people can't play very fair. So.
Play with others nicely in the sandbox.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't get it.
Did you hear what happened with like Florida? Like, I don't know if Disney World opened yet, but
yeah,
like,
they did.
They did? Okay. And like literally like that day, like they got the highest recorded COVID cases, sitting at 15,000, which previously before in a single day was owned by New York at 12,000.
Yep.
So Florida was just like, we'll go ahead and take the trophy for that.
Here, hold my beer.
Yeah. I don't want to go to Disneyland anytime soon. That just sounds like trouble.
Yeah, I want to go, but I'm not going to. Around here, people can stay away from the beach. Everybody's got to go to the beach. They're all going to North Carolina and South Carolina, and then it's kids, and then they're coming back, and then getting everybody sick. So it's like, so now the governor's locking everything back up again. It's like, yeah, the rest of us would have liked to have took a vacation too, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. You all go do what you want while the rest of us stay home and be nice.
What the deal with New Zealand is and why they have a record 0 cases right now.
I saw that this morning.
Yeah, because they let the medical experts handle everything versus the politicians. That's why I made crazy.
Someone making a good decision, thinking ahead.
Come on. Yeah. Politicians are the ones that we want making decisions. We want rich people making decisions for poor people. That's the way it works, right?
Isn't that how it works? Like the more money you have, the smarter you are.
That's my understanding. I mean, maybe I've been lied to all these years, but who am I?
Yeah.
What do I know?
So you kind of pay your way through college, literally, versus,
But hey, whatever. What do I know? I'll just go out to work, come home, and stay home and behave myself like a good person, like a good person should. But that's fine. You want to go to the beach, you go to the beach and enjoy yourself. You have fun. Sorry. Anyway. We're not here to talk about politics or COVID. We're here to talk about video games. And we actually
video games.
What about COVID simulator is going to be happening sometime soon? Actually,
we already have it. I was going to say, isn't that Division 2? I mean, that's
Division 2. That's right.
I mean, in Division 2, pretty much what's going to end up happening. I mean,
I guess Last of Us 2, if you replace cordyceps as use that as a metaphor.
I guess that's true too. I mean, who knew? Who knew we'd already be prepared for all this? Yeah.
A slightly different reality on that one.
Yeah, just a little bit. But, still, the year's still young. I mean, it could happen.
Can we be honest, though? I saw a tweet a while back where somebody was like, before Death Stranding came out, everybody was like kind of laughing at the game, and everyone was just like, oh, Kojima with his little Amazon delivery man simulator.
Yeah.
And then now it's just like, here we are in this future of the deliveries connecting everybody, and stuff like that, because everyone's indoors and just like mankind is on the brink of extinction just about with all this this COVID nonsense. So it's just like, okay, so he was right the whole time. Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah, who knew? Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
And the super flu from that book.
Oh yeah.
Technically, they did it as like a mini series or whatever before too, but the book is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I immediately thought of that too. So, but yep. So, all right. Well, let's get into
examples.
Yeah, let's have enough of depressing examples of everything that could go wrong. We'll talk about something else. I don't know if I had. Did I? Our last show. Did I have my PlayStation 4 Pro then? I don't remember if I did or not. I may have.
You just bought it.
That's right. So I've actually got everything finally set up and started playing it, and then I realized that I had not finished Spider-Man, so I started finishing up Spider-Man because I would like to play some of the other Sonys. I haven't decided what I'm going to play next, whether it's going to be Horizon or if it's going to be God of War or if it's going to be. I even bought Days Gone. I found it locally for like $15, so I thought, well, shoot, for $15, how?
Yeah, those are all really good options.
Yeah,
that's all at least 30 hours of game apiece, though.
Yeah,
I think Days Gone might be the shortest of the 3.
I have no idea. I have no idea how
long. Days Gone took me about 60 hours.
Longest.
That's true.
Yeah, whatever you choose to play, you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Are you just doing vanilla Spider-Man?
I'd bought the DLC as well, but I had thought I'd played a lot of it. Well, I had played a lot of it, but I did a lot of the side missions and a lot of the other things. I actually hadn't done much of the story. In fact, the other day I was just messing around and realized that I hadn't even finished Act 1 of the story yet because I had done nothing but all the side missions and all. I'd started.
There's a lot of side stuff you hadn't done then because a lot of it unlocked later.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything in this area, and this area, and this area, and, and I'm like already like a level 32 or something like that, and I'm barely halfway through the story. So now it's just like all of a sudden it's just like I land and just go, oh, everybody's dead. Okay, well, let's go on to the next thing. So now I'm just starting to fly through the story. It's like, hey, where was this when I first started playing? Oh, that's because I was doing all the side stuff instead of actually playing the story mission and didn't even think about it at the time. So I think I looked online to see where the chapters were, and I think I'm almost into the third act. I just dropped somebody off met somebody at the homeless shelter that was going to work with some of the guys. I don't want to give away too much. Of course, it's been a year, 2 years.
Probably guessing about the spot that you are in the game. That sounds about right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do all the DLC now or if I'm going to come back and do it later or what. But
it's pretty easy to platinum just the vanilla game. I mean, it was the first platinum I ever got, and it wasn't super hard. You didn't really have to follow a guide or anything. Or
if I'm not mistaken, I think that game actually has the highest platinum rate right now on PS4.
I could see that.
Everything is there on the map in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, go here.
As long as you do everything, you can platinum it, I figure.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not chasing feathers or any weird music notes floating away. So nothing strange like that.
Yeah.
It feels really good, too, when you collect everything and platinum it, too. It's just a very rewarding, fun game. I love that game.
It's so good. It's just relaxing to play.
It really is.
I was talking about on the show last week how to take breaks from playing Last of Us with Spider-Man. I never had to take a break. I wanted to play every night.
Spider-Man,
from the buildings, web thugs, do the side missions. Like, oh, this is great. This game is
and plus, what was that, Nathaniel?
So they're very, very different games.
Well, that's what I was going to say. They're very, very different games, and one of them is very depressing, and the other one isn't. So when you're dealing with depressing story, you kind of have to walk away from.
You're Spider-Man. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, come on, jeez. But so I'm just trying to catch up on some stuff like that. Especially since I'm not planning on buying a PS5 at launch. It's like, well, I've got all these games that I have not played yet that I need to play. So
honestly, it's one of the things I oddly enough look forward to at the end of every console generation. Is just like that serene period when you don't even bother about buying a new one, where you're just like, all right, no more new games. I can just pick up on my backlog now.
Unfortunately, there's going to be one come out Friday that I'm going to try to get Spider-Man done before Friday because I'll probably end up playing Ghost of Tsushima by Friday because it should be here.
Paper Mario comes out too.
A long time ago.
Crazy.
And Amazon says it's going to deliver it on Tuesday, the 21st. I'm like, why? No.
They did that for Last of Us.
Yeah, they haven't. I haven't got an email.
I got it on the day, so it's just kind of like,
who knows? I haven't got an email yet. Usually they send me an email the week of and say, "Hey, you've been upgraded to day and date delivery," but. Who knows?
Everything, guys.
I literally ordered another copy of Ghost Recon Breakpoint for PlayStation 4 to play with my other friends because it was $10 on Amazon.
That's right.
So I ordered it 2 weeks ago. It said it shipped and then it never went anywhere it was supposed to be here. I ordered it on a Thursday and it was going to be there on a Saturday. Well, by last Thursday, it hadn't moved. So I got online. They sent me another one. And that was on Thursday. And Friday, it was saying, it'll be here Saturday. And then it said, it's a delay. And it's been sitting in another warehouse since Saturday morning. So who knows? I've got 2 copies of that game that hasn't even come yet. So
check it again, but not on a Thursday.
Yeah, really. Apparently, that might be the trick is not ordering on a Thursday. So
Amazon's been having a lot of problems lately with delivering video games on time because I've been seeing a lot of tweets regarding it. Like even after the Last of Us fiasco, a lot of people were just like, "Yo, I ordered this game X and Y, whatever," and there's just that people are still waiting on it and things aren't coming out release. So now people are worried, like, am I going to get Paper Mario or Ghost of Tsushima on time or on Friday? Or
if I get Tsushima Friday, great. If I get it Monday, that's fine too. I mean, it's not I've got to play it day one. There's these guys. I get it on day one, and by Sunday I have to have it beaten. Yeah, I'm not that guy. I just
I'm not. I don't need to beat it that
I
week.
have it on day one so I could start it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just like to have it on.
That.
I like to have it on day one so I can at least download the 40 gig update that usually comes.
That's right. Right. And then by Sunday, maybe you start playing it.
Yeah, maybe by Sunday I can start playing it. So, no, I have good internet speed, and I tell you what, that is one thing I've noticed with the PlayStation 4 Pro than a regular PlayStation 4 is how much the download speed is better on a Pro than it is on a regular PS4. On my regular PS4, if I got 40 megabits download, I was lucky. Now I get like 120. It's really weird.
It feels substantially different to me. It still takes forever usually for me.
No, for me, it's now that I've gotten the Pro, it's actually faster. Remote play works better on it.
Remote play does work better.
But like download speed from the store does not really make sense. It shouldn't be bottlenecked that much.
It shouldn't be,
I
but
don't get that either.
It was on the other one.
Because it's not like you get the Pro and it's on an SSD, so you get a much faster write speed or anything. It's going to be the same kind of hard drive in it, so it's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I put everything on the external, which is the exact same hard drive that I had on the other one. But yeah, for some reason, the download speeds are better, and I don't know why. I have nothing different in the setup that I've ever that I had in 7 years with the other one. But who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's just holding its mouth right. I don't know. I don't get it. But it is what it is. I mean, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's literally the only thing I've played is just played some Spider-Man trying to catch up on the backlog, which I'm guessing the way things are looking, that's probably the way it's going to be for me with PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 for the next year. It's just catching up on the backlog. So even though Tsushima is going to be probably the last first-party game to come out on PS4, I won't. I don't even know how long that game is. I haven't heard yet. So I know review copies went out a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't seen any.
I think the reviews are up on Tuesday, if I remember.
Yeah.
Seeing someone say that.
I'm curious just to know how long it is.
Soon.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if is it a 20-hour game, is it a 60-hour game? With it being open world, I'm sure it's probably more like 30 or 40 at the least, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on like how many collectibles do you want to go get or not.
Yeah, and I'm kind of getting out of the collectibles crap.
I stopped buying it a while back just because I was like, I'm not using like 80% of the stuff it comes with.
Yeah. It's like with Spider-Man, it's like I want to unlock the costumes and look at them, but I don't usually wear them. I usually just wear the basic one.
Like I'm still cool with like deluxe editions and stuff, but at the moment we start going over $100, I'm like, nope, we're good now.
Yeah, no.
We're talking about two different things.
Yeah. No, but it's like with Tsushima, I did buy the deluxe edition just because I wanted the steelbook. The
steelbook's gorgeous. Yeah,
that's the only reason I bought it. But yeah, I mean, as far as like on Spider-Man, when it comes to upgrading suits and getting unlocked, I unlocked them, but I did not, get any of them to wear.
Right.
What'd you say, Nathaniel?
I got the one in Spider-Man that has like the arms.
The Iron Spider.
The Iron Spider suit is really fun in that game.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that. I think that was like a pre or a buy it. That was an automatic DLC thing or something. I don't even think I even had to do anything to unlock it. I think it was just there, if I remember right.
I think you can get fairly early. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It's been so long since I played it.
Yeah, that's just that one. I use that one or I use the other one. I mean, they got some really cool ones in there, but I never unlocked.
I think I used like the Cosmic Spider-Man or the one that's like negative Spider-Man suit. One of those two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever ones where there was. You could do like a big sort of hit to take like AOE or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I enjoyed it. Rock Spider-Man one is pretty fun too.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is you can add any of the upgrades to any of the suits. So it was like, well, what's the point of me changing suits other than I just didn't want to look at that one anymore? Maybe.
Just look at the cosmetic.
Except for the Iron Spider with all the little tentacle spider leggies that come out. That was kind of cool. But, could have done punk rock Spider-Man and just, had
rocker Spider-Man. Like the punk Spider-Man. That one's funny.
Just had the fro, or not the fro, the mohawk all the time. So and the jean jacket or leather jacket, whichever it was. I don't remember which version of it was now, but
I think denim.
I think it's jean.
Denim jacket.
So Nathaniel, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a couple of things. I finished Last of Us Part 2 since the last show.
Feelings?
It's complicated because it's one of those, there's nothing like it.
Right.
And it's not even the first game, and because they're just they set out to do something completely different than what I think anybody would have expected from a sequel to Last of Us. And I was kind of upset a few times while playing through it, but like now that I have some distance from it, I've kind of like processed it. I really like what they did with it. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of like structural things I would have done differently, even though I see why, both from just like me thinking about it and then seeing like interviews of them talking about it. Once I was like done with the game, I'm like, let's look at some of the spoiler stuff because I have to see what other people think.
Right.
Or some interviews with them and all that stuff. It's just like there's a thing that happens kind of like the midway point of the game where they play it because they want to kind of like get a reaction from you, and that's there's a lot of things in the game where they play it in a way that they want to get a reaction from you, and I think that it would have been a little bit better served if they'd structured it slightly differently. You would have lost a couple of those kind of like, I guess, surprise or like twist moments by doing that, but I think it also would have been paced slightly better.
Right.
But like overall, like the story is interesting. What they did with it is just not the story that I wanted out of Last of Us Part 2. And I still appreciate it because there's a ton of like really great moments in that game, but they don't quite all come together 100% for me. Like I'm liking it a little bit more as I'm not in the emotional moment of it, like, oh, I can't believe you did that kind of a feeling that I had a couple of times. But once I get away from it and like look at what they're kind of doing and I see, okay, you're doing this and this kind of thematically and all that stuff, I'm like, that's really cool, but I think you just kind of went in a direction that I would have rather you done slightly different this way in a few aspects. But there's some stuff about that game I love. And then some stuff I'm just like, it made me angry for a little bit. I'm like, why did you make this choice? It's kind of like they did it in the first game a little bit, where it's like, here's a big choice that you do not get to make, but it's not going to be in a cutscene a couple of times. Like it does happen in cutscenes too, where it's like the characters just do stuff, and we're used to that in games. But there's a couple times where they force you have to do this thing that you may or may not want to do as the player, but the character is going to do this. They just like tripled down on that for Last of Us Part 2. There's so many times in here where you're just like, I don't agree with what the character is doing right now. I don't want it to happen, but it has to in order to make the game progress. It's not like I'm watching a movie and then it's going to happen without me. You have to actually make it go forward. You can't just sit there and let it go for itself. And that's kind of part of what they were doing for the game. They were definitely trying to go for that, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's interesting looking at a bunch of different people's takes on the game. I think that's part of what I've gotten out of it more is like, since I'd finished it, going and seeing what a lot of other people thought about it, both people who loved it and people who didn't love it. Just kind of the conversations that started is really cool and interesting. We just haven't had a game of this type because most games are just like a power fantasy or just like something fun like Tetris or whatever. We haven't had stuff like a revenge tale really in games that much, like kind of what this is.
Right.
And like the weird depths of character that they explore and like, okay, what would make a character do this? And all those kind of things that they're exploring there, we just haven't had in games really. So it's kind of hitting people differently depending on who you are and what you kind of baggage you bring to the game and how much you loved the first one or not, or even if you played the first game at all. So it's just kind of interesting seeing a bunch of different takes out there on it.
Yeah, that's well, as somebody who's not played the game, that's kind of what I've liked to have seen is different sides of it. I just kind of sit back and look at what people are saying because I have no.
In that respect, I think they did something very, very right, and it's a very special game for that respect because it's something kind of like other forms of art where you interpret it your own way, and some people come at it with this background, some people come at it with all different background and see different things in it and interpret different things and be like, I see this in the painting. Well, I see this in the painting.
Right.
Whatever it may be. And yeah, so it's just one of those things where they're trying to kind of push boundaries in certain ways, and others it's still like technically it's super impressive. The graphics are very insane for a PS4 game. Just the amount of just unique stuff that they have in that game. It's a big download for a reason.
Yeah. How many gigs is that game, by the way?
I don't remember. I'd have to look.
60 maybe.
Oh, really? I figured it was more like 100, but
I had looked, and it was.
I think it's closer.
70.
It might be somewhere between there. I don't know. I had it from disc and then installed and then whatever. It's a game that comes with an install disc and a play disc. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's like Red Dead.
Yeah, and I know Red Dead. Well,
I think Red Dead is probably the only one that, like, graphically would kind of be the same category as far as just like the style they're going for. That's sort of realistic, but like slightly left of it, and just super detailed and all that. Red Dead 2 is probably the one that's only one that kind of achieves a similar thing.
I can see that. That makes sense.
Both of those games look really insane. They're really good looking games.
Yeah, they really are. So.
But yeah,
it's hard to talk about The Last of Us 2 without saying like spoilers and stuff. But when we get to my stuff, I'll try to have a few thoughts too, and I'll try.
Yeah, because like there's some of the stuff about this game that I love that I wish I could talk about, but I can't because it would totally ruin it. And then like someone would get there and just be like, "Oh, it didn't feel the same." Some of it'd be fine because it's kind of like some of the spoilers that leaked beforehand. If you knew, like, I think it almost like made those moments bigger because you didn't know exactly where or when they may or may not happen, and then some of the leaks happened to be. Yeah, some of the leaks that came out were actually wrong, so it just kind of kept you on your toes in a different way than if you, like me, came to it knowing nothing about it, because I kind of looked up what the leaks were afterwards just because I was curious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, yeah. And then there's some stuff that they just didn't know at all, so it's kind of a mixed bag of, hey, they got this right, but they don't know, context-wise, it was just like one sentence of, like, this happens. How does it happen? Where does it happen? When does it happen? Who does it happen to? Like all that stuff was kind of vague.
Right, and that's what I kind of wondered, and I didn't want to go find out because I don't know. I may end up playing the game at some point, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So anybody who's played the game, this should make sense. But structurally, I think it should have gone. It goes 1 2 3 1 2 3, and it should have gone 1 1 2 2 3 3.
All right, I'll take your word for that because I.
If you play through the game, it makes. I could add another word that would make it slightly less vague if you haven't played it, but then it would kind of maybe sort of spoil something. So I don't know, just kind of trying to be as vague as I can.
Yeah.
But just the way they put the puzzle together, I think that had they put it together slightly differently, I think that the story, I would have liked the flow of it a little bit better for me. But I still think that the direction they went, I still would have had some issues. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's just like the way they do it, it just kind of, they did it, I think, to be more impactful or whatever, to like really, kind of hit you over the head with what they were trying to do a little bit. Just like, oh man, I can't believe we're going there with it. And I think if they'd done it slightly differently, it would have, I don't know, played a little better pacing wise with the game.
Right. Well, that's good though. I mean, it's definitely been a cool game to sit back, like I said, and just kind of see what everybody has a different opinion about it. Almost, it's not, you don't see.
Yeah. And love it or hate it, you definitely, like, it's a looker, the freaking facial animation tech that they have there for the performance capture. Like, that's part of what makes the game work in some of these, like, quieter moments that they have, because you can see all of the thoughts and things going through their faces that they're able to capture and then, like, enhance with animation afterwards to clean it up, whatever their process is. Right. The characters in the game, you can see all the stuff that's going on that would be pulled from a performance that just traditionally in video games is very hard to do.
I like the motion capture dog. I saw a video on it of the dogs they use for like the motion capture.
The deer. For one of them, it was like, we set this up so we could get the motion for a deer.
Yeah, and watching them do the motion capture with the dogs was just really cool. But I like watching. I like seeing stuff like that anyway. So it's like I thought that was neat how they.
Yeah, I definitely watched a couple of like behind the scenes things that they have out there, and it's just seeing like the dots on their face and then knowing what that looks like in game. It's like, okay, yeah, they were able to capture that pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of fun. It'd be interesting just to see some of the things that you do. Okay, this is what is in game. What kind of weird jerry-rigged thing did they put on there? Like motion capture stage that's made out of like styrofoam and like plywood or something. Be like, oh, this is supposed to be this.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely, like I felt after the first game that I was kind of like, I don't know if they need to do another Last of Us in depth. After this one, I'm like, well, okay, I see that they had a thing they wanted to do and they did that. I don't know what they would do with this franchise after this. I'm sure they could do something, but I don't know that I would want one. Even more so than after the first game.
I would prefer that, if they like an original property, rather
Yeah, I
than
want to just like take all the stuff they've learned from, Uncharted 4 to Last of Us Part 2, all that, move on, do something different because they can pretty much write their own book at this point. Just do something completely new.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I'm sure we'll find out in like 5 or 6 years what that is.
I want to see what they would do if, like, I don't know, make like a new Super Mario or something.
I wonder if there's going to be DLC. The game kind of, without spoiling anything, it's possible that there could be DLC and they expand on where things go.
They said there was.
There's none.
Yeah, they
They're
said
not
there's
doing
none.
it.
Yeah.
Could let me hanging at the end. Yeah, we'll see.
My problem wasn't that they left me hanging at the end, is that the game had fake ended like a few too many times, and then like, oh, but I kind of liked where it was here, and then you kept going, and now that like I see where you're going with, I'm just like I can't really go into too much without getting into a rant that spoils everything. But
Death Stranding did that, where like they had like literally 5 different endings. It's just like they rolled credit. I'm like, why don't can we just? When does it end, please, Kojima?
Yeah, Last of Us Part 2 does like the cut or fade to black a couple of times, and then it's like you think, okay, our credit's gonna come, and then nope, it's another part of the game. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I had read somebody said that they were like halfway through the game, and they said they seriously thought the credits were going to roll, and they thought that's it, I finished it, and then all of a sudden it cut into something else, and they went, "Oh, I know crap!"
Exactly what you're talking about. Yep. Be like, I feel your feeling of that I thought it was going to end there, because I thought the same thing. I was like, man, this game, I thought it was supposed to be long, but this really feels like we're getting close to. Okay. I see how we're going with this now. Hold on. Witcheroo on me or something. Come on, Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
You don't have to like trick me every 30 minutes or something. Just like, let me play the game.
Yeah. Really.
Other than that, I've been playing a game called My Time at Porsche on PC, which I think it's on other things too. I don't remember. I'm not sure how it's big of a team. It's a smaller team that made this game, I think, but it's very much a what is it, like sim farming type, etc. games, sort of like Stardew Valley, except it's like 3D with a third-person camera. And it's completely different than Stardew Valley, because it's kind of this weird kind of cartoony post-apocalypse world where you find all these artifacts from like previous era or whatever. It's all stuff like, look, it's a blender that's broken down, or it's stuff that's easily recognizable of like, hey, that's like a thing that I see from our world, so I see what you're doing there, guys. It also has like, you have to get engines, are the only place you can find them are in the ruins, because we can't craft them anymore because we don't remember how to make engines.
Yeah, I remember seeing the picture of this. Maybe it was on Switch or something like that, because it's a Chinese studio that made this game.
Yeah, it's on Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and Windows, so it's on pretty much everything.
It looked pretty cool.
It's definitely one of those where you start out, you kind of inherit a thing, and then you have to kind of build it from the ground up, kind of like you do in like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, but it's very, very different than those. But even so, you're still going around chopping a bunch of trees, you're going to like mine some rocks, you're going to fight some random mobs around, you're going to talk to a bunch of townspeople, you got stuff at different shops, you got like some different things that you build that will... So, like, you build a furnace, and then later you can build a better furnace that holds more things in it, and, all sorts of other tool benches and swords. And you can do, there's, like, kind of 2 factions, for lack of a better word. There's, like, the science people who like to research all the old technology that you find, all the relics, and then, like, find out new ways to use them. And then you've got like the, what do they call it? The Church of the Light, which is like, no, we should shun all these relics and we should just plant trees instead. And so you can choose to like kind of like go back and forth between the two, but more just like, hey, do you want to get this thing now for your house where you can plant trees in it, or do you want to get this thing here where you might get a new machine to help you craft some stuff?
Right.
It's, I don't know, maybe somewhere farther down the line in the story it actually comes into play, because there is a story to it. And so it's very much quest based. You have kind of like this commerce guild or something in town that you go and you can pull jobs from, like so and so wants 3 sprinklers for their farm, so you build 3 and go deliver them, and then you get a bunch of money for it. And then somebody else wants this or that. Like a little further, a little bit into the game, you get like a quest from the mayor of the town to build these taxi cabs. Basically, they have some fun cartoony name, but you're building like a little taxi cab and taxi stops. And hey, now you have fast travel. So you go to one of the little stops, and then you can like travel to any of the other ones on the map that you've actually built one and planted one. So if you haven't put one there yet, you can't go to that as a fast travel point until you like get enough materials to go build another one and plop it down.
That's cool.
So it kind of, I haven't even seen the whole map because the map is pretty big. Maybe seen half of it at this point. I've played quite a lot of it. It's one of those games that has, I think it's like, the in-game time is like each minute is a second in real life, so it's like kind of like 24 minutes is a day, ish 20, because it's like it makes you go to bed at like 3 a.m. or something, and then you wake up at like 7, so it's not quite 24 hours. But yeah, it's very much the loop of, hey, I've got a bunch of stuff I want to do. I got most of it done, but then there's these couple other things that I want to do as well that I found during the day. So I'm going to go to bed, and it won't take that long. Oh, we'll go play another day, and then you play through that day, and then you play through another day, and then another day. It's very much one of those games that you get into that loop, and you're like, where did time go?
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the morning now.
Like, I just want to craft that one more thing, and I'm like, just 5 materials short that I have to go get tomorrow, and then put it into the furnace, or cook it up, and then I can craft it. And then along the way, oh wait, now I want to do this thing too, and it's very much that kind of a loop of a game. It's really good. It's got some combat stuff too, to where you actually have like a few dungeons that you go in, and that's probably my least favorite part of the game. It's the most clunky part of the game, but it works okay. It's like, it's a few rough edges here and there on the edges of the game, but overall it's really, really fun.
Cool. So it looked really cool.
Yeah, like if you're in the mood for one of those types of games, like Stardew Valley or something else, but just like not pixel art. Yeah. You could do worse than this game. It's pretty fun. Yeah. I also, the other day, finished the Wheel of Time books that I've been reading since probably December. I was trying to remember when I started.
Wow. All of them? Because there's like what, 15 of them?
Everything except for the prequel one, which I have now started, because I was saving it for till after I'd finished. Because I tried starting with the prequel one, because it happens before all of the like rest of the series.
Right.
I don't remember when he wrote that book in particular, like when it was published or anything.
Well, and some of them,
timeline wise, it shows up there. You start reading it, and like I got 5 minutes in, and I was like, I can't start here because it's all like talking about this place and that person and that thing, and it's all like these made up names, and like I don't know what any of it means.
Right.
And so let me start with the actual first book, which eases you into that a little bit more, because boy oh boy does Wheel of Time have so many like just fancy named things in it. But now that I've finished it and gone back and started the prequel book, and I'm like a few chapters in, I'm like, hey, I get this now. I know what all these places are and all these character names that you were just like throwing in there that I had no idea when I started from scratch. It's like, I get it.
Yeah, I want to say that he passed away before he got all the books written, and then it was another guy.
The last two were finished by Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
But also, like, they're co-credited on the books, because he had like a ton of chapters fully written to everything kind of mapped out, as well as like a bunch of notes of like this will happen to this character.
Yeah.
And then some chapters complete too. So kind of Sanderson just went in and sort of put it all together so it'd be an actual book, and he did a pretty good job of you can tell it's a different author kind of putting it together a little bit. It's almost like kind of like think of the Harry Potter movies, where you can tell like this one has a different feel from the next one because they had a different director, but it's still the same characters and stuff. So a lot of stuff is like similar, but it has like a slightly different feel to it. But I don't know, Sanderson did a really good job of it still felt like the same story, and it feels kind of like Robert Jordan's writing in a lot of instances. You can just tell like a little bit. It's slightly different, but not by much. It could have been way, way different.
Yeah, I was always interested in the book. I remember it came out. The first one came out in the 90s when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah, I've tried reading Wheel of Time a few times and never made it past like a few books. I don't remember what the furthest before this time I made it.
I think it would be good for audio book. I should try it that way.
Yeah, well, I know audio-wise, if you get them audio-wise, they're usually about 30 to 40 hours a book, and there's 15 of them. Just to
depends, because some of the books are a little shorter than other ones. So the way I'm reading it is an ebook where it was like the whole series is one ebook.
Yeah.
So it has like the percentage done at the bottom does not change very quickly. Like you finish a book and like, hey, I've gone up like by 8% or something.
Yeah. Well,
of the total thing. So you can't use that as a measure. So like there's a few times where I got it said end of book 7 or something, and wait, I didn't expect it to be over quite yet.
Yeah.
Because the last book was a lot longer than this one.
Right. Well, I know my buddy of mine, he had read through, well, I don't know if he'd read through all of them by now or not, but I know when we were in high school, he was reading through them. And I know like I want to say it was like the 3rd or 4th book. It was almost like 1,000 pages. That novel was. I mean, it was. It was huge. It was like holy
not short on detail for sure.
No, it was like, and I've tried to read the first one several times, but it's hard for me to read books. Not that I have a problem reading books. Is I usually start to get sleepy when I read books. No matter how exciting it is or how interesting the story is, it just immediately starts. I start nodding off. It's like, and it's not. It's.
I use reading to shut my brain off, like before I go to sleep a lot. But then I also read other times too. Sometimes sometimes it'll put me to sleep, no matter how not tired I am before I start. And then sometimes I can read like a ton of chapters in a row. It just depends, I guess, on how worn out I am from other things. I don't know.
I have kind of preferred to do audiobooks now, just because where I drive a lot, like it was like I went to
makes sense.
Yeah, I went to Virginia the other day. I went to Yorktown, so it was 7 hours. 7 hours over, 7 hours back. I listened to an entire Witcher audiobook in that time. It was like, and I seem to retain it a little better than when I read it.
Yeah, a good one for audiobooks is the Dresden Files. Like those books are great anyway, but like they have James Marsters reads them.
Yeah,
and he's really, really good.
Yeah, if you look at when I started working full time for the company I work for, and I started driving, I think I've listened to like 12 or 13 audiobooks so far, and it hasn't even been a year yet. It's like, wow. There for a while. What I do is I do when Audible has a special, they'll come back for 3 months for $5 a month, and so I'll do that and get 4 or 5 books, and then I'll cancel my subscription. Then a couple months later, be like, come back for $10 a month. Okay, and then I buy these. Like I just bought the new Star Wars with my sub this month, so it's Alphabet Squadron. I think it's like a 20-hour book. I'll be done with it next trip I do. So that's kind of how I've caught up with all the Star Wars novels, because I kind of gotten out of the Star Wars novels, and now I got a subscription to Marvel Unlimited, so I'm reading comic books before I go to bed at night. And I can knock out 4 or 5 comic books before I go to bed, but I read them on an iPad, so I'm laying in bed with an old iPad, so it's big and it's heavy, and a lot of times I'll be reading, and I know when I nod off, because I'll go smack right in my face with the iPad. I'll be like, oh, okay, whoa, whew, okay, maybe it's time to quit before I break my nose.
For your face at your own risk.
Yeah. It's because I like the bigger screen. Now they're all mini and they're small, unless you get the Pro one, and I don't want to pay that kind of money, so I'm still using. The only thing I do with my iPad is I literally read comic books with it. That's all I do with it. But yeah, the Wheel of Time books have always been really interesting to me, and what little bit of it I've read have been really cool. There's a comic book series where they adapted all of them too, so
Yeah, I wanted to try reading them again before the show comes out in the next like couple years, whenever they finally get it finished, because they've been filming it and stuff. So
Who is doing the show? Is it HBO or is it
Amazon.
Amazon? That's right. I couldn't
Amazon has
remember.
that and Lord of the Rings, and I'm fully convinced that they went out to get those licenses so they could use it to sell more books.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They can do the show and they'll get some stuff from that, but then it'll be like, hey, also go buy the books
Yeah.
on our big store that you can just
and
click over here.
What was it? Amazon teased or Bethesda teased this week that Amazon is doing a Fallout television series as well.
Yeah, that
And
looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was it Amazon? I don't know.
I think it was.
I
I think it
remember.
was
Oh, yeah.
Amazon, but because it was like I forget who it was that was doing it. Was it one of the Game of Thrones guys and somebody else? I don't remember now. I'd have to look it up, but sounds promising. So
I mean, I don't know. It's been worse Fallout out there than what they're probably going to do with the show.
I'm
so,
sure.
like,
Yeah. So, but
they could probably make something really cool or something kind of like, So I'm sure they'll probably be in the middle somewhere.
Hey, you know what? It'll be free for me because
It'll at
I
least
pay for
look
Prime
cool.
anyway. So whatever,
Yeah.
I'll watch it. Yes.
Yeah, check it out. I mean,
But yeah,
maybe it'll be mildly entertaining.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time is really, really cool. Now that I've read it, I'm like, I really want to see what Amazon does with it. And if they somehow make it to the end of the series, they're going to be spending a lot of money on the last couple of books worth of whatever they do for the show. Because and even before that, there's some stuff that it would be super expensive. They've already spent however much on the first seasons. That's like really, really high anyway. But like looking at what happens in those books versus what happens like well into the series, you're like, yeah. It's going to be really, really hard to do without throwing a ton of cash at it.
Yeah.
If you've got like giant battles and crazy magic stuff that happens and just like tons and tons of characters. There's so many like quote main characters in the Wheel of Time over the 14 books, and then like a ton of side characters. Like I think I saw whatever the stat is of how many like named characters there are throughout the whole series is just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is an epic in every sense of the word, and trying to adapt it for a show, I mean, good luck.
Yeah,
there's so many moving parts and
yeah, and like I said, just with my little bit of knowledge of the series of the books, it was like when I saw Amazon was doing the show, I'm like, okay, good luck with that. I can't wait to see how you handle that. It's going to be big.
I really, really like the series overall. There's some parts in it where it's just kind of like, it went a little slow, and then there's some parts that's just like, holy crap, this is some of the coolest stuff I've ever read.
Yeah.
But throughout, consistently, like the characters are what like kept me getting through it. I was like,
Right.
I really like these characters and kind of what they're doing with them, and how like well-rounded and stuff, how many sides of them you get to see, and their ups and downs and their whole journeys are really cool throughout the series. So if Amazon, if it's popular enough that they can keep going throughout, they're going to have Wheel of Time TV show for a long time.
Oh yeah,
there's a wealth of content.
Yeah, there's plenty of content there. So.
Yeah.
Eric, go ahead and tell us what you've been playing. I know you had some thoughts on Last of Us as well, and I'm sure Dennis does too. But you've been playing some old stuff, like.
Yeah, I fired up MVP Baseball 2004. That's actually a game I haven't played in years, not since I was in college. But I have it for Xbox, and I like loading the roster full of custom players and playing like a franchise. And it's, just like playing any other sports game. It's fun. Yeah. Mechanics are easy. Music takes you back. It's easy to play, and I don't know why I just randomly wanted to play it.
Sometimes you get that way. It's just pop
it
in.
Just like with the... I don't know, with the NBA 2K games, occasionally I'm like, I kind of want to play like a season again, so I'll fire that up, and then for a week I'll play it, and I'll come back to a year. So I also played Bass Pro Shops The Strike for 360. That is a fishing game that comes with a fishing rod.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I got it is I picked up the fishing rod for like $5 a yard sale. I'm like, this is kind of cool. How much is the game? The game is dirt cheap. As a set, it's actually pretty valuable. I played it. It's interesting. It actually works pretty well for the 360. You can cast pretty easily, reel in. Like, all right, this is something like my dad would probably like. So I was thinking about maybe showing it to him next time he comes over. It's entertaining, soothing.
I bought that when it came out, and the only reason I bought it was to use the rod and reel in Sega Bass Fishing on the Dreamcast collection on the 360.
There we go.
That's the only reason why I bought it. And I still have it because I have the collection. I don't think I have the bass fishing game anymore, but I've still got the rod and reel. Yeah.
And there's another fishing game for 362 that uses different rod. I was looking at that too. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to play, I love playing Sega Bass Fishing. It just never felt right because I had it on the Dreamcast with the rod and reel, and it just never felt right. So when they come out with the bass fishing game with the rod and reel, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just buy that and play it that way. So
they have for Wii too, but I don't know. I think it's just like some sort of piece that
I think so, if I remember right. I was working at GameStop when that came out, so I remember.
Yes, I would love to have the Dreamcast reel, but I saw the prices recently, and that will not be happening anytime soon.
Really? Wow. I didn't realize.
Again.
Really? I didn't know they were expensive again. I had no idea. How much?
50, I think.
50? Wow, jeez. I didn't realize they were that much. I still got the original box and everything sitting over in the other room.
I did enjoy a couple of years ago at PAX when someone used that reel during Power Stone and destroyed me.
Oh, yeah. I've seen people use that game during Soul Calibur as well and just crush people using the fishing rod controller with Soul Calibur. I don't get it. Don't understand it.
So I finished Last of Us 2 as well. Mm-hmm. I should be able to platinum it. To platinum it, you need about another quarter or a half playthrough, just because there's some stuff you cannot do in one playthrough. Mm-hmm. Let's see. How can I talk about this? Nathaniel's thoughts are pretty much the same. I thought the second half of the game definitely played a lot different from the first, whereas the first half of the game made me think of the first game. That's what I kind of associated with. I like how
the first half of the first half, and then by the time it kind of start going in a different direction a little bit, it's before kind of the halfway point for me. It was like, okay, this is feeling different than the first game now.
I remember they had that trailer they had showed where you're like in the woods and there's like you're being like hung up and there's some fighting and there's like super violent, and I kind of forgot about that part. And then when I came across it in the game, I was like, oh, that's this is interesting. So it's
like all of the trailers, kind of like the one they had where they did the thing at E3 where they put everybody into like the big like party tent that the trailer was taking place in, like that trailer where they have the dance and stuff, where it actually shows up in the game. It's like, oh, okay, I expected it somewhere else.
Like, that part, cool. But I can distinctly recall the commercials for Last of Us where Ellie is using a pipe and beating. That part of the game is interesting. With not too many spoilers. It's good. I mean, I don't know. There were a couple little parts I was kind of disappointed with. Maybe just the flow of things, but as tech, it's very nicely done. They did a great job. Everything feels very polished. It plays pretty good. I only had like one random crash. It didn't make my PlayStation Pro sound like it's on fire. It kept it nice and quiet, so that was good.
Yeah, my regular PlayStation 4 handles it fine. It's like, and it's a game like once you load in, then there's no more loading until you like quit or like die. There's a slight load, but yeah,
something
runs really
interesting in the Last of Us series. I remember playing the first game being like super conservative when it comes to ammo. I would like stealth everything, try to use the bow, try to be careful, right? And in this game, it makes you want to play that way, but you really don't need to. I had never had running out of ammo, and I played on the difficulty right below medium, so toward hard, and I had never had a problem. I always had plenty of ammo and plenty of explosives to take down.
I did not. I played very conservatively and very sneakily it's weird. Okay, and you'll know why, but the first half I play that way. The second half I don't. It has nothing to do with how the game works. I could play stealthily if I wanted to. I did not want to in the second half for reasons.
Yes. You felt like maybe using your weapons a little more, being a little more aggressive, huh?
And that's goodness, like when I actually like got out of some of that stuff, I'm like, yeah, the stealth is fun, but so is using, these bombs that I crafted that I never used. Oh, hey, those are actually really useful.
I did not use the stun bombs. Ellie has these like stun bombs. I did not use those very much.
Once you upgrade them to smoke bombs, they're super useful.
Yes, I didn't really use them. I did really enjoy the trip mines and the other explosives. I had a lot of fun luring, both kinds of enemies into it. Sometimes the game will put you in a room where there'll be clickers, like the infected, any kind of infected, and they'll also be humans. It is very fun to throw some explosives and have them just rip apart each other. I enjoyed doing that many times. and you can tackle things in the game kind of different ways, kind of however, you can play stealthy, you can play conservative.
There's a couple of like levels that are like the infected things where you're trying to find your way through and stuff that are really, really cool in that game.
I probably the game, probably the areas of the game that caused me to jump scare the most, or be like, startled. Second half of the game, the hotel part. Is that right? You'll know what I'm talking about.
One of my favorite parts of the game is that whole hotel part.
And that was interesting. They had a lot of sort of different things. You got to pay attention and kind of know what's going on. The companions are interesting that you play with. They are kind of useful. In the first half of the game, I felt they were pretty useful.
That's been a lot. So if you dive into like all the settings where you can adjust difficulty stuff, one of them is to make your companions way more useful as far as like killing things and using ammo and stuff like that, or less. That is they have so many different sliders, so you can make like you can make stealth really easy or really hard. You can do combat easy or hard as far as like enemies and how like the AI works. You can do like there's 4 or 5 just for difficulty, and then if you go into the accessibility stuff, there's some other things you could change if you wanted to make it way easier. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff you could toggle in this game.
Yeah, see, I didn't tinker with any of that accessibility with the different colors and whatnot to kind of make you see things in the environment a little different.
So like the difficulty settings are more like difficulty presets. So if you go in there later after you like first start the game, all you see is like easy, medium, hard, whatever they call them. But if you go into the pause menu and look at it, then it has like, okay, here's your kind of difficulty preset, sets the sliders here. If you have it easier, so the sliders go this way, or you can custom mix and match it and be like, I want puzzles I hate them, so I'm going to turn them way easier off, but I really like the combat, so I'm going to crank that up and make it hard, or
the puzzles aren't hard in the game. They're just, most of them require you to like look around and think outside the box. Yeah, I do have to go back and collect some of the stuff in the first half of the game that I missed and get a few other things. But other than that, just I'll see what I can do. I don't know next.
Yeah, the further away from it I get, the more I appreciate just kind of like all of the risks that they took with this game. And it's like, I like that because not many games are going to try to do risks or even be in the position when they can try and take so many risks with what they're doing with the game. So I like that. It's just like some of them super landed for me and a little bit of it didn't land quite the same way. But then like it's very, very high highs in there where it's like, man, I really love this part of the game. It's awesome. And then there's some other parts I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, there were a couple parts of the game I was like, nah. But it was, it's definitely...
There's even parts of the game that were like that too, where it's like at the time playing it, you're like, and then later you're like, oh, but that's the point of what they were doing there. I was supposed to feel that way, right? It's just in the moment, you're just more like, oh.
A little bit long, too. You're going through this. I'm like, when is this end going to end? And then you're like, oh, well, okay, I kind of see what they were doing that. Tinkering.
It's not a short game.
Yeah. I don't know. I got a pretty big backlog after this. I should go back to like Control or Prey, or maybe trying to finish the Spider-Man DLC or finish Metro Exodus. But
I have the rest of my summer planned out. I know what I'm playing.
Blocked out gaming chunks.
Well, it's like Ghost of Tsushima comes, and then after that I'm playing Horizon because it comes on PC in early August, so I'm going to replay that game.
Yeah, I wondered if you were going to... I know you put it down in the notes, so I was wondering
I literally only put it in there just to be say, like, the day that they said it was August 7th, I went on Steam and pre-ordered it, and like it was during the sale, so I hadn't bought anything yet, so I got $5 off of my pre-order on accident, too, just because it would qualify. I'm like, sweet.
I'll take it. Everybody recommends. I only played a couple hours of it, and I really need to go back and finish it. And yes,
I need to go back and finish it too, because like I said, that's literally when I got the PS4 set up, got everything to my liking, set up the HDR, all that. That was the first game I popped in and played the movie again. Just the opening, just to see the difference in 4K. And what's cool is man, you could have performance mode or you can have graphic mode. So I watched the trailer with graphic mode on, went, man, that looks really pretty. And then when the title screen would come out and go, Horizon, it would jitter, boom. But then I turned it off, turned performance mode on, and it was like, oh, the graphics aren't quite as good, but look, the jitter is gone. I want it to look pretty. I can put up with the jitter.
See, when I get on PC, I don't have to worry. I can
Right.
crank it all the way up, and it'll play smooth too at the same time. It's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome.
So, yeah, and I
And
was
some
going
of
to
the
ask
stuff
you.
that they've said in there, like it's gonna probably have like slightly better draw distance and some of the other little tweaks they've done on there. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can't wait to play this game again.
Yeah, definitely cool. So, is that all? That all you played, Eric? Yeah, that was all you played, wasn't
Yep,
it?
that's it. For the second show in a row, I did not play that much stuff. I promise, though, next time I will play a few more games.
Stop slacking.
As if 5 or 6 isn't enough. Oh my gosh! In 2 weeks you've only played 5. When I've literally only played one game and maybe played 10 hours of it in 2 weeks. But Dennis, go ahead. You'll make up for it. You always do. You've always been playing a lot. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna get too much into the first one. Obviously, Animal Crossing is still a thing at this point. It's just part of my DNA.
For that, it just says Animal Crossing is still a thing.
Yep, swimming.
Yeah,
now you got swimming. So.
And but yeah, that's still a thing. It's. I feel like at this point, I think you had mentioned this last time, John, where it was just like, I mean, you kind of get into a routine. You just you jump in, you do your things, and then you jump out.
I'll put it to you. I'll put it to you this way: every day, my morning routine used to be Marvel Strike Force on my phone. Just go through my normal thing. Now it's ever since Animal Crossing comes out, I get weekly emails for Marvel Strike Force going, "Hey, why don't you come back and play? Where you been? You played for 3 years and now you're not playing anymore. What's going on?" Well, I'm sorry, I've got another morning routine before I can go to work. I've got to go, go pick my things and go on the beach and do this and go see what turnip prices are and blah 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 blah. So
go to the beach. Hey, at least your beach is safe, right? Because it's not North Carolina or South Carolina.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my beach is good. I've had my eye closed most of the time, so
right, yeah.
we've closed our borders for a while. So.
Right.
What I want is Animal Crossing needs to go to space, and you get like the moon or something to settle and build a house on.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
That might be the next one.
Amazon
Crossing. Mars.
It's like Star Trek, but with cute animal characters.
Speaking of Star Trek, real quick, I'm going to interrupt this. Have you seen the trailer for Lower Decks, the comedy cartoon for Star Trek that's coming on CBS All Access? Go watch it. It's hilarious. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's great. Anyway, go ahead. Who knew Star Trek could be funny? So,
sponsored by CBS All Access.
Yeah, but if you want to sponsor, it's fine because I don't like to have to pay for it. So it would be great.
But yeah, no, I mean, Animal Crossing is just kind of get into this routine. Yeah, I mean, it's still great. They just had a new content update that I think we actually talked about this last week. Actually, whether you're just jumping in the water. Yeah. And but more stuff as well. Like you just get treasure stuff, like pirate stuff actually in particular. Yeah. That stuff's usually really cool. But yeah, just kind of the usual on there, so nothing new in that regard. Right. But what is new is, for some reason, I don't know why, just because I was kind of in the mood for a platformer, like an old school platformer. Well, quote unquote old school. It's old because the game itself is old, but it got remastered recently, which is the new SpongeBob game that just came out.
When he said platformer, of all the platformers he could have chose to play any of them, I was not expecting SpongeBob to be on that list.
Yeah,
different direction, but
well, to each his own. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
What's crazy too, and the interesting part is I appreciate SpongeBob, but I was never one of those guys that one of those kids growing up that was just like, yo, SpongeBob is everything to me. I never really cared that much, but the game is like a surprising amount of fun, which is good because I would have been upset having spent money on something that wasn't good, but after watching, not watching, but reading the Steam reviews and stuff like that, it was like, it's been well received. Usually licensed games usually aren't. Right. They don't do well typically. Like 90% of the time, they just don't do well. They're just kind of one of those things where it's like, let's make an extra buck off of this property, Right. But this is one of those games that's it's like a true, not even a remaster, remake, because it looks nothing like the original, and it runs smooth 4K, which is it's oddly a beautiful game. It's like it doesn't make any sense, the designs are actually like super entertaining. It's super fun just going around and then just collecting the things that you collect, and all the spatulas. You got to get spatulas, which the golden spatulas kind of serve as like the stars that you get in Mario, and in every level. So it's but it's great. I mean, the level designs are good, and the combat is very simplistic. It's nothing too crazy. You can quote unquote combo. You have various abilities, but nothing is. You don't have to memorize some crazy Mortal Kombat thing where it's like X, Y, X, left, A, anything like that. You don't have to do any of that. You can spam whatever you want to spam. Chances are you're gonna hit and achieve something. So, and also for anyone who's interested, also a really easy platinum as well, platinum / 1000 gamer score, which is just collect everything. That's it. It's just kind of like your typical kind of Lego approach, where it's just like you just kind of collect everything the levels have to offer, and then you're good to go. Right. So it's surprisingly entertaining, dude. It made me laugh a couple times, and it's one of those games that kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't interested in it, but I wanted something new, and I wanted kind of like a platformer to play. So I was like, you know what, let's try this new SpongeBob. But I wanted like a 3D platformer, something along the lines of like your Mario's, like New Super Lucky's Tale, or stuff like that. So like your Ratchet and Clanks. I didn't really want your kind of standard side-scrolling platformer. So nothing with too much combat either. So SpongeBob was kind of speaking to me in that regard. So, and it was only $30, and then I think I got it on sale at Walmart for like $10 off. It was $20. So I was just like, okay. The game just came out too. So I was like, yeah, why not? So $20, but it was $20 well spent. So I've been very happy with it. But yeah, great for all ages. I mean, SpongeBob, obviously, but sometimes games like this just tend to, God knows I've played licensed games before. I mean, going back to the original Super Nintendo games like Aladdin and Lion King, where
that was bread and butter back then.
Yeah. Those games were incredibly hard, but they were marketed for, as is most Disney things, for kids typically, or like a family friendly environment.
Right.
But granted, when you played them, it was like, we need to call the police.
Yeah.
So it got bad. But yeah, this one's just been kind of a nice, relaxing game, if anything. So
that's good.
Yeah. But in addition to that, I don't want to say I've been playing too much of it just because it just came out. I did try the private beta for a while. I think now it's in public beta, but Hyperscape, which is that new Ubisoft Battle Royale game. I only wanted to really try it because I'm not too crazy for Battle Royale games. But I wanted to try it just because I really liked the art direction of it. I'm a big fan of any type of sci-fi aesthetic, and and anything that's kind of super futuristic like that. So it really was. It's a beautiful game to look at. It's a really pretty game. I wish there was more to the customization in terms of your personal characters, but the level designs. The city is great. I think that's my problem with a lot of Battle Royale games is they just kind of like, here's just a big map. There's no thought to anything that we've done to it. It's just a big map so we can fit 100 people in there, and then you just go balls to the wall or whatever. So, but this one is like, it's a beautiful city. Like, I wish there was a mode where I could just kind of walk around because it's very detailed and it's very feels very lively too. It's beautifully designed. I mean, when you're dropping in, it's just like, oh my God, look at all this. And then when you're down there, you're like, man, like it's really, really pretty to look at. Not just graphically, but of course, just in terms of like aesthetic and design. It's just, it's so pleasing to look at. So, and there's thought, it feels like there's districts because it looks like a city, so it feels like there's districts and everything's very color coded and stuff like that too. So, even though it's a big map, you can kind of still tell where you are without having to look at your actual, map or something to bring up the little map icon thing, versus other games like this where it's just a big world of ground and grass and you just run around. You might find a tree or two to hide behind, but have at it. And that's not for me. I'm all about level design. I appreciate good environmental design and good level design, and it's just boring to me to go play glorified hide and go seek. So,
Right.
but this one feels different. It's cool because the abilities also are not tailored to any specific character. How it works is there's just abilities on the ground. So if you want rather than having these like class-based characters, it's just like you choose whatever ability you want as you're out on the field, and you can switch them in real time as well. So, if you run into a power-up that's like you get a super speed like like Tracer, so you can blink fast distances for like, let's just say every 50 feet or so, you can do that. If you want to replace that with a super jump, if you want to make that your ability, then you go find a super jump and then you press F or E or whatever the swap button is, and then all of a sudden you don't have the blink anymore, but now you can jump super high in the air. So yeah, you can just get any ability, and you're never locked to any sort of loadout or anything like that. So I think that's really cool. Now, it's not new in terms of weaponry. We've seen that before. You can kind of switch weapons at your leisure. But in terms of abilities, those are usually locked to characters, right? So, like, to put it through an Overwatch perspective, like, like Tracer's not going to have Reinhardt's little shield, you know what I mean? So, because that's just not her thing. So it's, but in this game, it's just like, if you wanted the shield, you could do that. If you wanted to fly, you can do that. If you wanted to go invisible briefly, you can do that. But you just have to replace the abilities as you find them. And you don't have to either. It's just...
Red Faction Gorilla, where they had the different backpacks you could pick up in multiplayer, and it would be different things. So you could get like the Rhino pack that would like do like earthquake stuff, or you could get the jetpack or the different ones, and they were all like pickups you had to go get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And you're never restricted to one, so it's really, really cool. And also, in this particular game, if you die, it's not a permanent thing. So it's not like a die and then you go back to the lobby. It's you do have a chance to be resurrected and try again, but only after so many attempts. And I think one of your teammates has to go to like a little respawn. There's like a respawn portal where they just have to go to for really quickly, and then they can...
The same way that Apex Legends does it, or
right. Yeah. So, nothing particularly new, but I do like that idea of just having a chance. And I think that's one of the things that when I briefly did play Fortnite years and years and years ago, it was one of those things where it's just like, man, it really is just a one and done, man. Like you're just gone back to the lobby. Like you can't even like stick around, and like it's just done, So I like having
why you're seeing that change now is because of PUBG and Fortnite being that way, and that was one of the complaints that a lot of people might have had. It's just like I go in and then I'm done, which like that's exciting for some people, but then other people are just like, I spend all my time running around and then get killed and don't get to do anything.
Yeah.
So they're trying. Now we're seeing games that are switching it up a little bit and having some differences to how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, I think the biggest problem with that I would have is I mean, every game's going to be different, but like sometimes you'd sit in a really long queue time only to be in the match for 30 seconds, and then you go right back to the lobby and you got to sit for another 15-minute queue time or however long for whatever reason. And it's super, like, it feels terrible. So you're never accomplishing anything, you feel like. So it's nice having that chance of coming back and just having another shot at it. So yeah, Hyperscape's really cool. Feels good. Feels really good. Like it like the controls are fluid, and it's super fast paced too, which I appreciate. It doesn't feel slow. I like my fast, frenetic action. So it feels very much up my alley. But again, at the end of the day, it's Battle Royale. So how much time am I going to spend on it? I don't know, probably not much, but it's one of those games that I can see myself kind of going into, maybe playing a match or two, if I have like, a couple minutes to spare. So nice little drop in, drop out type game. In addition to that, the private alpha was last week, and they didn't want anybody talking about it. But now I feel like I can talk about it just a little bit. I won't go too much into detail because I don't know how much the NDAs like really got into it. But basically, I was playing a little bit of Rogue Company last week, and it's the new game by High Res Studios, and those are the people behind Smite and Paladins so on and so forth. And so that's their new game, and it is coming out on all platforms. I saw it in the first time I think I saw it was in the Nintendo Direct, I think last summer. So I haven't heard about it since then. But then randomly I got an email. I was just like, hey, we're doing a private alpha. You want to join? I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. So I'm really liking it. It's like the characters are very charismatic and great, and the maps are very well designed too. Again, I don't know how much they really want you to talk about, because they were like, look, you don't stream about this, you don't tweet about this, you don't say anything about this. It's it's a work in progress. I was like, okay, but it's no longer going on, so I figured, I know there's probably not much harm in just saying
Right.
things, but I won't go too much into it. But so far, first impressions are really good. Feels good. The matches don't last too long either, and I think that's a problem with games like this. Is like I feel like there's a sweet spot that you don't want matches to last too long when it comes to certain stuff like capture the flag or capture points and stuff like that. It's I don't want to spend something the length of like a MOBA, in something that is a 4 versus 4 team deathmatch or something like that, with objectives, where it's just like, why this? Can we get a move on already? Like, it's just that's the thing I think Bleeding Edge had a big problem with when that came out. Was when I played that for all of like an hour, I was like, there's a lot of potential here, but these matches last way too long. It's a 4v4, and the respawns also take way too long. So like, if the moment one person dies, that 3v4, that team with 3, they may as well just run away, because there's just no way you can't defend yourself. It's just everyone does way too much damage way too quickly, and by the time I get there and so just and then 1v4, I'm certainly not going to do anything, so it's like, no matter how good you are, it's insane. Again, Bleeding Edge was just one of those things that had a lot of potential, but it was also one of those games where the map sizes were much bigger than they needed to be, especially with the objectives that they had, and the matches lasted way too long. You'd sit there for 20-25 minutes sometimes for something that was like, this could be a 5-minute match and be such a good 5-minute match, and instead now 5-minute match. So it just feels it's unfortunate, but Rogue Company so far feels great, looks great. They kind of nailed the timing on everything. I'm very happy with it so far. So it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of carry things from here, because High Res has been, between Smite and Paladins, obviously those games have been around for a very, very long time, and they continue to get support. They continue to have millions and millions of players, and so I think Rogue Company is in good hands, and I think it'll have a somewhat bright future. I'm optimistic about it. Is it going to be the next big hit? Probably not, but I think a lot of people are going to have a good time with it, though. Everyone's going to be super, super fun. So yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. I had not. Well, we'll get into the Ubisoft stuff. I knew that the hyperspace was out there, but I hadn't tried to sign up for the beta or anything like that. I even really looked into it. So
yeah, it's in public beta now, so you don't have to sign up for anything. You just go and download it now. Before you did have to sign up, but yeah, now it's available to everybody.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's get into the news real quick. There's just a couple of stories I thought we'd talk about and talk a little bit about the Ubisoft stuff. Sony acquires minority stake in Epic for $250 million. Kind of came from out of left field, I guess. I don't know. I don't read too much into it. I know a lot of people are thinking that Microsoft is going to buy WB Games, so they're thinking that Microsoft or Sony is going to go over here and try to get a stake in Epic to combat that. I don't know if there's any truth to either one of them, but
From what their stories and the quotes and stuff they have, it doesn't seem like it's anything to do with the game so much as the engine.
Yeah.
And also, 250 million is like really dirt cheap, small change for them
really
trying to buy the studio or something. Is like, no, not for 250 million.
Yeah, I mean,
no, not with Epic owning Fortnite. No, that's $1 billion property.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I think they're just I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. It's like, why would you just buy a stake in it other than you're going to just get a little bit of extra money? I guess it's almost everybody uses the Unreal Engine anymore. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. I guess we'll see what comes out. What's that?
Unless you're an EA studio.
Oh yeah, they got their own, and it's great.
Because EA forces them to use it, even if it doesn't make sense. Like, guys, put Frostbite to bed. Come on.
Well, let's put Frostbite into Madden. That'll work.
Looking at you, Anthem.
You can track so many of the problems for EA over the past, like, however many years since Frostbite was first put into play, like, to that engine.
Yeah.
It was designed for the Battlefield games. It's a first-person shooter engine, and then they had tried to expand it to everything, and surprise, it didn't work so hot, and it still hasn't. Like, they haven't smoothed out anything. You figure, like, if they're really trying, like, maybe with all the, like, problems they had for, even I remember on, like, Dragon Age Inquisition, they were talking about how difficult it was, and, like, all these other games that have come since, from all these different EA studios, and saying like how hard it is to work with Frostbite if they weren't doing a shooter. Like, you think maybe you might smooth that out by now if you really wanted to, but apparently not.
No. Sony patent suggests that PS1, PS2, and PS3 could be backwards compatible on PS5 via cloud. This is nothing that surprises me at all. I mean, wasn't some of the PS3, PS1, PS2 stuff backwards compatible on the cloud on PS4 anyway?
Yeah. Some of the PS3 stuff was. I'm not sure about the other ones, but
right. Well, I know some of the PS3 stuff was. The trick was with it though, you had to rebuy the games. That was the thing with it. If you own the digital game, it's not like you could play the cloud version of it for free. So unless they wrap all, if this does come to fruition, and unless they wrap it all up in their, what do they call their version of Game Pass? PlayStation Now. PlayStation Now. I don't see where anybody's probably going to buy games again. The reason people want backwards compatibility is they want games they already own to be able to throw them into the system. They don't want to have to rebuy those games over again. So
also every experience
I have my Nintendo Switch and I buy Super Mario World. I mean, that you wouldn't there, but like on previous ones, you buy Super Mario World on the Wii.
Right.
That's not backwards compatibility. That's support.
Right.
Different.
Yeah, that's
so
totally different,
yeah. So. And this is assuming this even goes anywhere. Like,
right.
They could put a patent for it and be like, well, it doesn't make sense to turn it into a thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But
patents are filed every day, I mean, and nothing ever comes from them. But, it's still interesting. My thing is if they're not going to throw it in the PS Now, or it's not going to be implemented somehow that I can pop my PS3, PS2, or PS1 disc into PS5, it does no. I am not going to go back and buy a PlayStation 3 game that I already own and paid for X amount of years ago to play it on the PlayStation 5. I'll just pull my PlayStation 3 out and pop it in.
Yeah,
mine's still hooked up.
It's one of those games where it's like really, really want it, or hey, let's say they bring back Scott Pilgrim, right? I would buy that again.
Well, yeah.
But everything else, I'm just like, I got my PS3 still, and I still occasionally play it, and I got the physical games that I really want, so unless it's a smoking good deal, probably not.
And the thing about it is, if they bring out the Scott Pilgrim game, it's not going to be the backwards compatible version. It's going to be a brand new release of it that'll probably be released on everything anyway. It'll be an arcade game or a indie game, not
I'll just start throwing that money at my computer as soon as I hear that announcement.
Right, yeah. It's like I still have that game on my PS3, thank God.
Yep.
But, but it's like, that's not back compatibility people want. They want to be able to take that disc and stick it in their system.
And they probably want, and if they're looking at the backwards compatibility stuff, they're probably thinking about the popular stuff. PS3, PS2, PS1. You're not going to get the obscure, strange games. I mean, you probably won't see Suda 51 stuff. You're probably, you're going to see the popular stuff.
Unfortunately, you're not going to see, NCAA football 14 or anything like that, which is kind of too bad. That game has absolutely shot up in value, something ridiculous since it's been.
50 now, or
it's 160, 165 was the last I saw it, but I haven't checked it in a couple of days. It is the last college football game ever made. People still want a college football game.
But still, it's like, why would you buy a college football game when you could buy the one before that? I'm sure it's not $150.
Well, the main reason is,
sure,
well, the last one, the servers are still up. So there's a huge community that does roster updates and stuff like that. So
that makes some sense, but still, those servers aren't going to stay forever.
No, I mean, they've been.
I'm surprised they're still there now.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Of all the things, I'm surprised they're still there now after that's now 7 years, I guess. It'll be 7 years this fall. So, it's like, wow, I'm surprised that that's even still a thing.
And then NCAA basketball Actually, that's gone up a little bit, but that's only sitting around $50 to $60. It's always been worth about 30. So it's climbed some, but not like football.
And the only reason it is because that was the last one of that too. So
yep.
And
it's an interesting thing, and there seems to be this weird sort of demand for it.
I have a digital copy of it, and I have a physical copy of it on PlayStation 3. I bought a digital copy when it was on sale for like $5, and I already had the physical copy. And I'm like, hey, I don't have to put the disc in all the time.
Even better, yay!
Yeah, but now you don't even have. Now it's not even available digitally anymore. So I mean, it's a weird thing, but who knows? The UbiSoft Forward event was yesterday.
A disaster.
Was that yesterday?
It was
I don't know if it was a disaster or not because I did not watch it. I was really busy yesterday afternoon when it was on, and I didn't see
it either. And that
was really underwhelming.
They promised all these freebies if you're able to sign in, and I could never sign in. I checked it out for like the little tail end of it, but they had some kind of.
Well, you didn't even have to watch it to get the freebies. I didn't, and I could log in and get the freebies. So
today, hello, Watch Dogs
2. They had the Far Cry 6 trailer, which was a pretty trailer. I like.
Then they put a teaser out, and then they put the full trailer out at the thing. So not a surprise, and plus, like, hey, it's Far Cry.
Yeah, I mean, nothing of it was a surprise when I went down through the list to see things. They leaked it way earlier in the week too. I like the Mandalorian dude, the guy who was on Breaking Bad. I think he's cool. Yeah, the trailer looked really cool. I have no idea anything else about it. The trailer was very good, though.
Do you think it's gonna be one of those games?
Good trailers usually that the games are just the same.
Yeah.
Do you think it's gonna be one of those games that's also on PS4?
It is. It is on PS4.
Yeah, it has smart delivery also.
Yeah, it has smart delivery. If you go and you try to pre-order it, which that was one of the things I was going to put in the story, was the big rumor that games are going to be $70, but now all these pre-orders for the Ubisoft games have come out, and they're all $60, even on Xbox One X and Series X and PS5 and PS4. Right. They're all the same price. But what's cool about is with the Xbox stuff, it looks like now with the box art, it's just Xbox, and if you buy just the one game, if you have an Xbox Series X, you pop it in. If you have a Xbox One X, you pop it in. It's the exact same game, so you don't have to buy two different games.
I was thinking maybe look like for some of the Xbox One games where it's the game and it says like Xbox 360 and Xbox One.
It does, and it says Xbox across the top, and then there's a little strip that says Xbox One /Series X, and then they have a badge on there that says Series X. What does the badge thing say? It's Series X.
Or something like that.
Something. Golly, I can't remember what it says. It's optimized. Yeah. Optimized. That was the word I was trying to think of. It's a lot of stuff on the cover, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's too much stuff on the cover." I hate to tell them, the PlayStation 5 stuff looks. That blue box with that white strip across the top of it.
The white strip is not. It was fine the way it was before. I don't like that white strip at all.
So whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I just don't like the blue and the white strip. Clear.
It's very
clear box.
Well, PS3 games had a clear box.
Yes, they did.
So
clear box will fix that. Clear box will fix that. It just looks like
Far Cry.
But
those games are always fun.
I have not played a Far Cry game since I think Far Cry 2. 2 I think was the last one I played.
That's the last one I played.
Those games prices they drop pretty quick.
Yeah,
you can.
It'll be $10. Just wait a month. You'll get it for $10. Don't worry about it.
$10. Maybe I was gonna say 30, but 10.
Oh no. It'll be 10. This is UbiSoft we're talking about here. It'll be 10.
Yeah, it'll drop.
They're
usually pretty fun.
Division was $3. Remember that?
Yeah, the Division was $3. Division 2 was $3 at one point.
That's right.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla was showed again.
Was actually gameplay.
Yeah, there was a lot of gameplay in it, and golly, Neds, did the PlayStation 5 the Xbox haters come out of the woodworks. I don't know. It was on Twitter. It was hilarious. People were showing.
Platform,
I know, but here was the funny thing that they were showing. They were like, "Here's a picture of Miles Morales, and here is a picture of the main character in Valhalla." They were taking a rendered trailer of Morales on the PlayStation 5 compared to gameplay of Valhalla and going, look how this is not next gen. Shut the frick up. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like, will you stop it? Just
You've never been
stop it.
around for the beginning of a console before. They never look, quote, next gen, except for maybe one or two that looks kind of, a little bit better.
Exactly.
But it's all the later games that you get that look that cool, man.
And
Valhalla looks fun,
it looks
but
fun.
it doesn't look like it's doing anything better or different enough from Odyssey to make me want to play it over Cyberpunk.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what's bad. It's going to come out the same week as Cyberpunk does.
It's like 2 or 3 days or something.
Yeah, something like that. I did like the group thing that it had, where you kind of control your I don't want to say your army, but you'd have 4 or 5 guys with you, and they would do this and that while you're doing this. It's a very different. I thought it seemed like with that kind of stuff, it was a very different Assassin's Creed
that,
game.
and I know what the actual game is going to be like. It's going to be just like Odyssey, where before they show it, it's like, look at all these big battles, and then you only have to do literally like 2 in the entire game.
Yeah.
Unless you want to, you can go play more of them, and then even then, they're still just like, okay, that's the least interesting part of the game. It looks cool, like look at all these people on this battlefield in like a trailer sense, but in the gameplay sense, you're kind of like, it's fine.
Doing the raids. That's what they
the
call it. The
siege raid stuff that they show in here, where you're actually like using like siege tools to break down gates and stuff like that, could be cool if they do it right, but only I think if you do it like a few instances. The more times you're doing that over and over and over again in a game, it's just going to get kind of like, okay, I've done this.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how much you'd have to do it. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely a game I'm interested in. I'll pick it up at some point. I'm not going to pick it up on launch, even though right now I could pre-order for $50. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it.
This time around, you don't have to pick which gender you're going to be at the beginning and then be committed. You can change whenever you want, apparently. So it's like, all right, whichever voice actor is better this time around. You can figure that out, and then you can stick with it.
That's exactly what I was thinking, too. I was like, now I don't have to wait and watch a little bit of video and hear people's opinion about which one was better. I could just go ahead and swap immediately.
Apparently, there's some like built in-game universe reason for that or whatever. I'm like, all right, come on, you don't have to go that meta. UbiSoft, just make a game. It's fine. Sure, even with Assassin's Creed, with all the weird like meta, weird sci-fi stuff they throw in there on the periphery, it's like, you still don't have to do quite that far, guys. But I don't know. I am curious to see how this ties into the modern day story from the last 2, because Origin and Odyssey both have the same kind of modern day character, so I wonder if it's going to be the same one in this one too.
Yeah, I wonder that too. So we'll find out at some point. We talked about Hyperscape, Watchdog Legions. I have no idea what anything about that game is. I know it's Watchdog Legions. I didn't watch a trailer. I don't know.
I mean, I think for fans of the series, they're probably pretty interested in it.
Stupid.
I don't know. It's probably not for me. Not really for me.
Yeah.
I did not like that trailer. It was like it's all like, hey, we're trying to sell maybe the vibe of the game, but it just came off as just like, nah, and it's all like this like live action with some animated other stuff that we're putting as like maybe as a kind of technical showpiece of like,
big
selling cool video we made, but it doesn't tell me anything about the game.
Yeah.
You can get any of the NPCs to fight on your side. That was like, I was reading a little bit more about it. And I was like, oh, I guess so. I don't know. Guess we'll see more.
Yeah. Let's see. Brawlhalla coming to iOS. It's a good game. Cool. It's coming to phones. Just Dance 2020. Big shocker there. The Crew 2. What? Is it coming out on Wii this year? Let's see. It came out on Wii last year, so I want to come out on Wii this year. The Crew 2, another one that I don't know. I never cared for the first Crew game. I mean, I guess it was fine. It tried to be Forza.
I mean, I guess they're supporting it and trying to keep it going instead of just, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
Trials Rising. We'll get an update. And then they did some Ghost Recon talk about Breakpoint. Yeah, getting that kind of stuff. Limited time event. You know what? That's a game I've played just a little bit of, and I kind of really like it, but it feels more like Division than it did Ghost Recon Wildlands, which...
Yeah, I really liked Wildlands, but I'm going to try Point. Keep an eye out if I can get it for 10 or 15 bucks.
Well, you can get it for $10 right now from Amazon if you can ever get a copy of it shipped to you. It's still $10 on Amazon, but if you can get it to your house, that's
digital at the moment for $15. Also, if I'm not mistaken.
So I bought it on Xbox so I could play it with Dennis, and then I bought it on PS4 to play it with my other friends. And what little bit of it I played is very pretty. It's really cool. I like being out in the jungle in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden, oh, here comes some planes and a helicopter. Quick, hit the dirt so it doesn't see you. Boom, and it's a lot of sneaking around and a lot of, but it's a little, to me, it feels a lot different than Wildlands. It feels more Division than it did Wildlands, because they kind of just open it all up and here you go. You can, but I haven't played too much of it, but it has a central point. It feels a lot like Division. But I don't know what it was like at the first. I know it got a lot of bad rap at the first when it first came out. So
yeah, I think people expected it more to be like Wildlands, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, but they've done a lot of updating, so I don't know what it was like when it first launched, but I like it. I mean, I paid $14 for it. I liked it enough that I buy it on another system to play with my buddies when they play for $10. So I mean, it's like, it's fine.
This whole Ubisoft thing was just very kind of. They said what was going to be in it beforehand, with the exception of Far Cry, but then that leaked, and then they confirmed it before anyways. So
right,
cool. Like Ubisoft, if you want to get me personally excited, either say new Splinter Cell or new Prince of Persia.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there.
Yeah, and that's two things that...
Beyond Good and Evil 2 at this point even is just more of a joke, because they've showed that game so many stupid times. It's looked different each time, and none of them it looks like the first game or any of the charm from that one that I liked. So it's kind of like, well, whatever. That's kind of a phantom game at this point.
Yeah.
Even if you show it like, look, here's all the gameplay, I still won't believe it until it's actually out and I could play it.
Yeah, I won't either at this point. So. But and we talked about Horizon Zero Dawn coming out August 7th on PC. So we know Nathaniel's going to get that and tell us all about it.
Yeah, I got to get them robot dinosaurs.
Yeah, so
someone's got to hunt them.
Yeah, I'm hoping it sells well, and Sony will take Microsoft's route and maybe release more of their first party games on PC. I mean,
yeah. What about Spider-Man? I was thinking about that when we talked about that earlier. That would sell. That'd be good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's